Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. Today it is the 18th of August, 2022. And on today's show, we'll take a look back at the Nationals and the Cubs, their series that just finished up yesterday. And then we'll look ahead to this weekend's series between the Nationals and the Padres. And also we'll start off with a announcement about the show and about the show moving forward right after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast, August 18th, 2022. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. So we're talking about the Nationals and the Cubs. We're going to talk about the Nationals and the Padres coming up here. But first, an announcement from me. So I will be concluding my time as Locked On Nationals host at the end of this month and a little bit longer if need to be. But the plan right now is for me to be the Locked On Nationals host through the end of August. This was a decision that I made myself. I told Jeff earlier this week. Jeff is the host of Locked On Reds, and Jeff Carr, and he also runs our Major League Baseball channel here. And I let Jeff know that earlier this week. It's just a move that I had to make. This is a podcast that I host in addition to Locked On Big 12, which came along an excellent opportunity. I also do this in addition to I do color commentary. I'm going to be doing that for high school football games. And also I work on the NASCAR channel at SiriusXM right now as a producer sometimes. Also work on the college side I have for a long time. And so a lot of that stuff does demand my attention right now. So it is getting more difficult to watch games or and watch Nationals games and follow it as closely as I was before. And also I play for University of Richmond baseball, and I'll be doing some of their games, whether it be soccer or field hockey, coming up here in the fall. So a lot going on for me professionally. There's a lot of weighing about, what can you keep doing? What can you not, for your health, for your relationships with your family, about your professional career. And so I think it's just time that there was a new face, a new voice, because I want to make sure this team, this podcast gets the support that it deserves. I just want to talk about my journey with this. I just want to thank all of you all. Like you all have been the listeners. You all have been really supportive of this show, ever since we started. My journey on this show, everybody, this thing started back in really my entire journey here started back in 2019 when I was a sports director at KCOU 88.1 FM, the student radio station at the University of Missouri. And the young man who succeeded me, Nash Walker, who's also Locked On Twins host, was in the studio, our C studio, our little beast studio we have in the back for online stream stuff like that. And he was recording a podcast. I actually heard him doing a read. I believe it was for Blue Chew at the time. No, not pimping that stuff right here, but just saying, like, it was weird. I was like, why is he doing an ad for a meal enhancement bill? Like, what is going on? I asked Nash, I said, hey man, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm recording something for my podcast. I'm recording my podcast. Nash would go in there and use that studio very wisely because it's good audio quality. And he would go in there and record his podcast. And so I got to asking about Locked On, and I thought, well, I'll be graduating December of 19 when I graduated. Actually, I wasn't even a sports director at that point when I was talking to Nash. He was a sports director. I was just trying to figure out, what he was doing. And I was still working at the radio station. So I'm getting ready to graduate. And so I heard about this. He got me in contact with the folks. Sean Woodley at that point, who's Locked On Raptors, was running the Major League Baseball channel. And I got in touch with him and talked about their openings, and the Washington Nationals were the club that I was most familiar with that was available. I am from Virginia. For those of you all know, the gigs have been up for a little bit now, but I'm a Mets fan, actually. But obviously, if you guys have heard this content, it does not hurt the way that I've done this show at all. I've always been very fair to the Nationals. I've always been very supportive of the Nationals because the Nats do well, I do well, the show does well, we all do well, right? We all want that to happen. So it's one of those things where if you're in the professional ranks, like it's just one of those things that you deal with and you do. It's kind of weird, like that. I mean, you kind of put stuff aside so you can cover teams and you do the best you can. But hopefully you all feel like I've covered the Nats pretty objectively. I feel like I have. You all may not share the same sentiment, but I feel like I have. But yeah, I mean, I talked to Sean and it was open, and I was moving to DC in January of 2020 to start my job with SiriusXM, and I did so, and I was excited. And then the pandemic happens, right? And so, that's when I started. I started doing episodes in January of 2020. And since then, everybody, we have been on this journey together. Locked On Nationals has done 468 episodes of Locked On Nationals over the course of that span of time. I mean, it has been an absolute pleasure of mine to be with you all through what's been a really difficult time for the Washington Nationals, to be through that downturn, to go through COVID, first of all, not enjoy the celebration for the Nats like they should have been able to enjoy it. To be there, for that 2021 season, the sell-off, to be there through now the Juan Soto trade. I mean, we've gone through a lot together. And I just want to say, like, your all's interaction, and you all have been really good to me. I mean, I will say this: the college crowd for Locked On Big 12, a really passionate crowd. They love their college football and basketball and baseball, and they love their schools. They can be a bit of a harsher crowd, and sometimes I would say a little bit. It's not as rational as it normally should be and needs to be. I have to say, the Nationals crowd, you all are one of the more intelligent, thoughtful, and really supportive groups that I could ask for. Constructive criticism is great. You all have given me some too, but the kind words for the reviews you all have written me on iTunes and Apple, what you all have said to me on YouTube and all of that, I cannot thank you all enough for being really supportive of this show, for listening, for letting me know when you agree, you disagree. And just, I hope that my time that has been spent in your ears, that's been whether it's been in your car, in your home, at your dinner table, in your office, whether it's helped you get through a good day, help you get through a bad day, whatever it is, I really do appreciate you all making me a part of whatever it is and the show, and making me a part of whatever it is that you're doing. I hope you felt like it was time that was worth spending. And that's the one big thing here is time. I don't feel like I have enough time to do everything. And I want to make sure I give you all the coverage that you all deserve, or whoever is the host of this show gives you all the coverage that you all deserve. That kind of gets me to the next point of what I want to talk about. We have not pinpointed the replacement yet. Whether you are in sports media, whether you're not in sports media, whether you're a fan, whatever it is you've done, please reach out to me. You guys can find me jneighbors0@gmail.com or at @JoshNeighbors_. You guys can DM me on Twitter. If you all have interest in becoming the next host of Locked On Nationals, it's a commitment, folks. It's 5 days a week. All right. It's 19 episodes a month normally during the on season, 3 a week during the off season. And baseball is on, from February until October. So you really don't get a whole lot of off. You're 5 a week for 9 to 10 months a year when it comes to baseball. So just letting you all know that is the time commitment that you would be entering into. And I'll have more details if you all are interested. But because it's that schedule and you all deserve that much content, that's great. That's what we do here at Locked On. We put our name on your team every day. And I feel like I can't deliver that. So I want to find somebody else who can deliver that to you all in a really good way. And I once again, thank you all so much. This was my first professional on-air job out of college. And I was, out of college, I was on air so much in school, whether it be calling games. I got to call Missouri athletics. I got to call high school athletics around town on TV. I got to do my own, my own radio show every single week. I mean, I got to do it all. And I really wanted to find an outlet where I could continue to share my thoughts, my feelings, all of those things. And Locked On Nationals was the first place that I was able to do that. And I was able to share it with a bunch of guests. A lot of my friends were able to come on the show, from Connor Jones to people like Matt Wyrick, who have been on this show, to people, like Lindsey Crosby, who have been on this show. I mean, people who have stuff to say, sharing their time with you, sharing their insights. And I really do, I really do appreciate all of the time and effort that you all have kind of given back towards me listening to this stuff. And this, once again, my first job kind of doing something on air. And I feel like hopefully I got better with each one and things got, better as we went along. But now I think it's time. So I don't want to leave this feed abandoned. We're going to try to find somebody else to take over. I just have to say, after 456 episodes, I felt like I needed to tell you all and let you all know. And I'll kind of send, keep going with the reminders as we go along, but just let you all know that this will probably be my last couple weeks here that you all will hear me. Let's see, the last day of the month is September 1st, which is a Thursday, or August 31st, which is a Wednesday. I probably foresee me staying on through the end of the second, just to make sure that we hopefully find somebody and get them in place that time, and we can get some continuity. So just wanted to let you all know that's coming down the pike. All right, quick word from our sponsors, and then we will discuss, we will talk about the National Series against the Chicago Cubs. Once again, first, a word from our sponsors. Today's Locked On Nationals podcast is brought to you by the folks at the NHTSA. What are the odds that you get pulled over after you've had a few drinks and you're out with your friends? You usually think they're pretty low, right? What's the worst that can happen if you do? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you tow your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of drunk driving. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again, play it safe, plan ahead, and get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. All right, so let's talk about the Washington Nationals after their the beginning of the week series against the Chicago Cubs. They are now 39-80. They have a .328 winning percentage, which is the worst in the league. They still worst team in baseball. They're 37.5 games out of first place, 19-44 at home, 20-36 on the road. Their -212 run differential is the worst in baseball. They've lost 3-7 in their last 10, and they have a less than 1% chance to make the playoffs. Now they'll take on the Padres, who are 66-44, 17 games back. I'll get to them here in a second. First, let's talk Nationals, and let's talk about the Cubs. So there was a lot happening in this Nationals series. I was talking about all the things that were changing the other day. Jake McGee being brought on, Patrick Corbin getting some rest, and kind of making things a little bit different. And so we got a lot of, I guess, feedback, like not personal feedback, but kind of results-driven feedback from all of the various decisions that had been made relating to roster moves and who was where. So let's start with that first game of the series. The Nationals got a 5-4 win, in which was a very interesting Josiah Gray start. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 10 Ks, 105 pitches. And this was one of those starts that featured, a couple long balls, right? Ian Happ, ends up going deep in this game, not once, but twice. And that's obviously been a problem for Josiah Gray, but still the stuff at times was electric. And once again, only 5 hits, 2 of those being home runs, 10 Ks, 105 pitches. That's the one thing about Josiah, is that he's really starting to get that pitch count up there. He's really been able to be a guy who can go 100 plus pitches. And that's a horse mentality right there. I know he has really been adamant about how he wants to do that. And the results have not especially, lately, have not especially been great. The last couple games against the Cubs, I'd say it's been okay, right? 5 earned runs in 12 2/3 innings for him, along with 15 Ks in those 12 1/3 innings for him. So, better results as of late, but that month of July was rough, a 6.75 ERA after a month of June, which saw him pitch 4 games and had the 1.13 ERA. So, he went above 100 pitches for the first time in that month of June. And then since then, he's done it 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th time he's done it, and he's got the ability to do it. It's just a matter of whether he can stay in the game long enough to get there. I mean, when he's not going 100, he's going 96, 95, 94, 97, 95, 94, 91. I mean, there was that stretch from June through July where he exclusively was throwing 90-plus pitches. The only time actually he has not thrown 90-plus pitches since the start of June is the that one start against the Phillies that he had at the beginning of August. So you're starting to see him extend. And I've said this a million times, and I'll keep saying this, and I hope whoever's next shares my sentiment on this with a guy this young. This year for him is about finding what he does well, identifying that, finding the problems, and working on it. And we are finding all of those things, and oftentimes they're within the same start. We're finding a guy who's got problems with the home run ball. We're finding a guy who's able to strike out a ton of people and bounce back on a start-to-start basis, on a sometimes in the game basis, right? I mean, he had to get this thing rolling in this 5-4 win for the Nationals. He's the one who had to get this thing back on track after a 2-0 start, right? So that was up to him, and to him to get it to the bullpen in the end of this game. That's what you're talking about. So Josiah Gray still, I mean, it's up and down with him, sure, but for a guy that projected originally, I think the projections are probably a number 3 starter, right? I think he's got number 2, number 1 type stuff. I think if he ends up as number 3 guy, that's, well, I mean, it's all relative to who's around you, right? I think if he ends up as a number 3, it's great. It's really good. But he's got the ability sometimes to look like a number 1 or a number 2. And I think harnessing that more often will be the challenge for him. The good news is, folks, he's just 24 years old right now. And I will say, speaking of somebody who's not on the young side of thing, actually, if you flip around, if you palindrome the old Josiah Gray age, you'll get the old Nelson Cruz age of 42, right? And it was a really nice game for Nelson Cruz. This is probably one of his better outings, 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. The home run in the 8th inning gives the Nationals the go-ahead, and then they lean on the king, Kyle Finnegan, to finish it out for him. I mean, Edwards and Finnegan, they decided not to move those two. They decided not to do it. Man, there's a chance that could be something, right? That, if the Nationals can get this thing going in the right direction, I'm not sure if they hold on to these guys. These guys always move around, but these two, they can do it. They're good. I think it's kind of a simple way of putting it. Like, Carl Edwards Jr. is good right now. I'm not sure if he's going to keep being good, but he's good right now. Kyle Finnegan is a good pitcher. The times that he has, I mean, this is a guy, the top relievers really kind of get put in similar situations all the time. This guy is a late innings guy, but we've seen saves, we've seen holds, we've seen 7, we've seen 8, we've seen 9. I mean, this guy's asked to pitch all over the place. And so when you think about a guy who's asked to do that much, that's the big thing is for him, he's gotten better. A 4.35 in May, 3.97 in June, 1.64 in July, then August 2.70, but still it's really good. In July, in August, in all the appearances he's made 6 so far this month. The one where he's given up runs was the one that's, it's just 2 runs now in 6 2/3 innings for him this month. So obviously, he's done really well. So these are 2 guys who have actually got it and could be a part of something. We're talking about a bullpen moving forward. All right, second game for the Nationals in this series, a 7-5 loss. These 3 games were all decided by 2 runs or less. And this one was the Patrick Corbin return. 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 Ks, 97 pitches. Now, the thing about this is it drops the ERA down, right? This was an okay performance. I mean, relative to what he was doing, it was okay. I'm not sure we can say he's cleaned up a ton, right? It doesn't really necessarily feel like he has cleaned up a lot of what he's been doing, right? I think that's kind of safe to say at this point in time. Like, he's not really cleaned up a whole lot of what he has been doing. Also, rough start on the week for our man CJ Abrams. He was just 1 for 11. Did have the RBI though in this game, and this game went to 11 innings. This was a really fun kind of, not back and forth, but it was kind of a forth then back affair. The Cubs went up 4-0. The Nationals came back and scored in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th to get a tie game. They both scored in the 10th. The Cubs added 2 in the 11th and they got the job done. They were 5 for 10 in scoring position. It was Victor Arano who ultimately gave up the runs there in the end. Carl Edwards and Kyle Finnegan both were combined 2 scoreless, and you combine them together, 2 scoreless innings. So that was good to see. Rosmo Ramirez, a clean inning. Steve Cishek, a clean inning. So it was good to see those guys, but the Cubs end up getting the win here 7-5. And it feels like Patrick Corbin. I mean, what we can say about that? Like, was it really that good? Like, I guess it's progress. Is the one thing I'll say. I don't want to be negative Nelly about this all the time. All right. Final one, 3-2 loss. I will say it's on Jake McGee. So note that, right? Let's know it's on Jake McGee. I'm not sure why he's pitching here. You all have heard my thoughts about this. It's just because, I mean, like Mason Thompson, folks. Why are we not doing Mason Thompson? Okay. Cory Abbott. Hey, let's do it. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and 5 Ks. This guy should not be, it was not supposed to be in the big leagues pitching, had that ERA around 5 in AAA, as I talked about. This was one of the better starts he had made. I think that one start against the Mets where his 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, and 3 Ks on 76 pitches was really strong. This is another really strong start. This puts you in position to win the baseball game. You should be competitive when your starter goes 6 innings and gives up 2 total runs. No doubt about that. And also, when our friend Cory Abbott, left the game, the Nats get a run in the bottom of the 6th, and so it was tied. And that just shows you, yes, he pitched them, even in the game was low scoring, in position to get the job done. But it was our old friend Yan Gomes who drove the go-ahead run later in the game. That's the only hit they had with runners in scoring position. It was against Jake McGee, whose ERA is at 6.67. You can tell the, resignation in my voice about that. And that's what helped. That's what powered the Cubs to the win. All right. We'll do the Padres preview. Let's just do that tomorrow. I think that's the best way to do that. But let's talk about liver health right now. Liver Health Formula is an official sponsor here of Locked On Nationals. The liver is the body's metabolic furnace. It's responsible for flushing out harmful toxins and igniting your fat-burning metabolism. But thanks to modern diets rich in unhealthy processed foods and the constant exposure to thousands of man-made and environmental toxins, most of us have overworked livers. But now it's easy to rejuvenate your liver health and reignite your metabolism, thanks to Liver Health Formula by Pure Health Research. Liver Health Formula contains 8 liver-boosting super nutrients like turmeric, beef, and artichoke extract. Also, if you guys get this today, you guys get a free bottle of Curb Fit. So go to getliverhelp.com/MLB. That's getliverhelp.com/MLB now to get started. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at @LO_Nationals. You guys can find me at @JoshNeighbors_. More updates are coming on the show about what is going to be coming in our future. I talked about this a little bit earlier, obviously earlier on the show, but I'll have updates. And once again, if you guys can get a hold of me and you guys are interested in the job, just let me know at @JoshNeighbors_, @JNeighbors0 @gmail.com. Also, JNeighbors0 @gmail.com. All right, my friends. Till next time, as always, stay safe.